But like I said, we have to be careful with these single solution and trend type of changes because they can be focused on one thing. And if people attach their agenda to one thing that they're going to change or reduce in their life, then they might be forgetting about all these other things. You can't really reduce this one thing. I'll just throw a weird example on. Let's say shampoo bottles. It drives me crazy. I'm just going to reduce it. I figured out a solution. I make my own, whatever it is. Okay, fine, that's that one thing. But the rest of your life couldn't be like massive consumption. But I changed this one thing. So we have to be careful with those one solution things. And especially be skeptic when a corporation is giving it to you. When it's kind of like our product fixes the problem. I'm very skeptic with that. I'll sell you a product that fixes this problem. Well, the products are really the problem. Consumption's the problem. So it's really hard. We were all raised in a culture of consuming is the way. And so now we're in a culture of consumption fixes the problems created by consumption. So that's a whole weird psychological twist to the issues we have. So we have to watch out for that. And that even applies to some of these things that sound really good when it comes to organics and veganism and vitamins and bioplastics and biodegradable stuff and bamboo and, alternative energy solutions. All these things sound good and they actually can have some good things associated with them. But a lot of them are backed by corporations and trade organizations, industry-backed organizations that have a lot of money. And a lot of people working in a huge marketing department that are sitting there watching the trends and watching what you're posting, and they know what's going on. And they want to grab everybody and say, hey, we make a product that solves that. That was really bad what was happening before. In some cases, it's not even another corporation. They're pointing out their own corporation, like, oh, that was bad. We're still going to make that bad thing. But if you don't want to contribute, we've got this other thing you could buy, and then you'd be a good person. So, yeah, consumption culture to the max, right? So some other things to think about. Everything that's great is like, even if you found a product and you go, this is perfect. This item is this, whatever, this toothbrush is made of something else, and so it's not made of plastic. Great. But everything still comes from some resource. So now what are the sources? Woods, metals, things like that. And again, when we have a population and we have numbers of consumption, figures like we do, you're kind of switching one resource for another in many cases. We're consuming a lot of trees, or now we're cutting down the forest so we can plant agriculture fields, or whatever kind of, even hemp. I mean, if we're going to cut down trees to put that in, I just think about these things all the time as like just not viable solutions in the at these numbers. So, and then on top of it, everything, even if it's like, man, this is really great. This replaces plastic. Perfect. Everything is created at these massive scales because corporations just eat up the production. And everything that's produced still requires some resources and still requires the production. Like, we kind of forget when we talk about waste, we don't often talk about production and transportation and everything that goes into getting that one little product to us. Unfortunately, the scale is just insane. And yeah, I mean, a lot of these things are themselves, maybe, I'll use the plastic example again. Maybe it's not plastic anymore, but it's shipped in plastic. It's wrapped in plastic. You don't always know that that's not the case. I mean, the product itself might come in this cute little packaging that's recycled or whatever, biodegradable or something, but it was in a container with lots of those boxes that was probably wrapped in plastic, and those were on a pallet that might have been wrapped in plastic, plus the pallet was made of wood that came from a forest, and then there's the fuel of transporting it around. We ship it from another country, and there's fuel and shipping, and then it trucks to holding station, and then that trucks to the store, and then we have to drive to get it, or whatever. It's just, thinking about all these things that go along um, with the production, the factories. The factory has to clear an area of what would be maybe wild lands. So, yeah, any high scale production of anything, even if the end product doesn't seem that bad, it could be bad. Especially from a wild lands perspective, or just from an air pollution and water pollution perspective. We don't always know what's going on there. And I know we think small scale, small business, local could solve it. The problem is a lot of these places get bought up by corporations eventually. So maybe, but most of the planet is not at that level. And the amount of consumption to fulfill the consumption needs of most people, small scale's just not going to do it. And that's why I said reduction really, again, is at the core of the solution. What else? So another thought is, just with all of this, just think of nothing is good garbage. I think that some of these movements attach this label as again, make the consumer feel good about consuming. That maybe there's better garbage out there, and there really isn't. They all still have their problems, like I pointed out with recycling, not a full solution. Biodegradable, these types of terms make us feel better about continuing to buy stuff, but they don't solve it. For one, the production, transport stuff I talked about, even if the end product is. Two, just to put it very bluntly, landfills are just stupid. I mean, it's just a stupid concept for a being to come up with. That we're just going to throw our garbage in a big hole. And then on top of it, it's stupid because it creates an anaerobic environment, which means basically there's not a lot of oxygen in those compacted areas. So stuff won't break down. Geologists, that's the whole principle behind fossil creation in some cases. It didn't decompose because we had not a lot of oxygen. So there's reports out there of actual food in dumps that is found in the layers, and it hasn't even broken down. So you might think of food as something that could biodegrade, and it could, but in that scenario it doesn't. So basically, again, reduce. Waste should be a rarity, not an abundance. And we obviously have an abundance. We're like swimming in our garbage, in the air, in the water, we see these images all the time. Pretty much all ancient cultures up until our modern economy, industry, mass consumption driven system, they didn't have this issue. We find middens, piles of what was their garbage. The most that usually amounts to is maybe like some piles of shells from oysters or something they were eating or using. Doesn't seem that bad compared to the problem we have today, right? We're at the point, like I said, where we have plastic in us. It's found in all of us. And there's microplastics in everything. The things we eat. It's kind of gross, right? So this is the reason we live the way we do, to be clear. It's not because van life looked cool to us, honestly, or nomading necessarily. I love travel and seeing things. I love it from the learning perspective, but the reason we live the way we do is actually, to support an effort to move away from this. I mean, we're a little bit anarchism, I guess, in the sense that we don't like the way that our society is. And this is a expression of that, living completely differently. That's why we don't have a lot of luxuries here, and we talk about not being plugged in, not having electricity, and trying to find these weird, simple solutions to things. That's part of the reason why. But there's also a lot to say about simplicity and happiness. That's what I said on the post. That happiness is the inverse of stuff. Stuff makes you miserable. So I just see it as a lifestyle change is really the only way to start to get better. And we can do that at an individual level. My example for me was that I've changed tons of things than what I did in the past. I mean, I used to wear makeup. Gross. I don't do that anymore at all. And again, instead of replacing it and going, oh, I'll just use this makeup that has this, it doesn't, whatever. It doesn't test on animals. It doesn't use these products. It's not in a plastic applicator. I don't know. Some sort of solution like that. I just said, you know what? Just get rid of it altogether. Because I'm looking at things now as like redefining luxuries and saying like, it's just not a need. It's not a need. And as much as I maybe at the time when I wore it wanted to convince myself that it was okay, it wasn't a need. So, other things, just simplifying hobbies and not using as much gear. We switched from, to using all stainless steel around here, which has been a great switch. We don't shower that often. Again, when I lived in a traditional life, when you have a shower in your house, it's easy to go, well, it just runs off. So by not having it available on board means we don't even have the option. So the amount of water we don't use by not showering and washing our clothes and all that is tremendous. Tremendous. And it's not a problem. I know people worry. So I got some dirt sometimes. This is not really that big of a deal. And again, trade-off. Maybe just the off-grid lifestyle. For some people that might look kind of difficult. We've found it's become easier and easier to not have a lot of these things. And like I said, every day is just learning. I'm increasing our foraging. We still have tons to learn there. I've used manzanita bush leaves to brush my teeth because I read about that as an ancient solution. There's other solutions out there than just going to corporations and saying, what product can you give me to fix this other bad product? That's kind of the rule here. We'll just, learning is a big part of it. So simplifying and being as authentic as you can. And with that, then continuing to learn. Learning's huge to changing. So that's what I want to say today about our channel here at Paradise on Pennies, why this channel exists, and why that has a lot to do with Earth Day. So I hope you guys enjoyed listening to that, and I'm glad you guys, those of you that understand what the channel is about and you're here because you appreciate our lifestyle, thank you for the support. And so now I'm going to do something that doesn't use any resources and just kind of go for a hike and enjoy this amazing planet. Off the top of my head, there's a quote that fits perfectly with this, and I don't remember it exactly, but it's something along the lines of, we don't really need to be, the planet is amazing enough without us inventing stuff. I like that because it summarizes it up. I mean, if you really start looking into the micro and macro picture of our whole planet and all the beautiful little corners of it, it is amazing. It is amazing. So we're not at a loss for entertainment on the planet. So life can be simpler than we've been taught. So I'll leave you guys with that, and I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you next time. Bye.